May 13th, 2017. Scientists and inventors again. Gregor Johann Mendel, 1822 to 1844. There he is right there. The science of genetics has its origins in a program of research carried out between 1858 and 1866 in the vegetable garden of Austrian monastery by one of the monks, Gregor Mendel. This is really cool. He was born Johann Mendel, the son of a farmer at Heisendorf, then in Austrian Silesia. Can't pronounce that. He seems to have developed a broad interest in the natural sciences from quite an early age, though he was also conscious of his own lack of a formal, systematic education. To get an education was evidently a factor in his decision to become a monk when he entered the Augustinian order and took the name of Gregor. The Augustinians were known as teachers, and Mendel was sent to study for his teacher's certificate. He took the examination in 1850, but the examiner commented that he lacked, quote, insight and the requisite clarity of knowledge. This is the guy that founded genetics. He was told that he lacked insight and the requisite clarity of knowledge. Think about that for a second. Mendel never did succeed in gaining a teacher's diploma, though he went to the University of Vienna for a further period of study, mainly in science, before returning to the monastery at Brunn in Bavaria, today Brno in Czechoslovakia, in 1854. 2 years later, in the monastery kitchen garden, he began quietly a methodological investigation into the nature of heredity, which took him 8 years to complete. Mendel was primarily interested in the hybridization of plants. He was aware that in all the breeding experiments carried out so far, nobody had taken the research to the extent where there were enough results to make any statistical analysis. As the subject of his study, he chose the cultivated pea, and he defined 7 characteristic variations which were likely to occur. That being said, here it is, statistical analysis. Now, in my own theory development, that's a very, very big important. That's a huge thing. If you have a planet formation model that only looks at the objects inside our solar system, and you take that one sample and you make it apply to all the solar systems, all the stars in the night sky, all the galaxies, in the universe, what happens is you don't have enough statistics to base any information on, because there are billions of them, and you're only looking at one system. Taking one out of a 200 billion sample isn't a sample at all. That's essentially zero data. And when you have zero data, you can't actually form a reasonable or statistically significant model of planet formation or stellar evolution. And that's the problem. We're starting to have statistics now which show that planet formation is essentially stellar evolution. But do you think they're going to notice? Nah, not really. They're too busy giving themselves Nobel Prizes and stuff like that. Another thing is, it says here, meanwhile, Mendel published his findings in 2 scientific papers in 1866, when he was 44 years old. Though in doing so, he attracted almost no attention whatsoever. His discovery of the basis of genetic inheritance was nevertheless of a magnitude to rank with that of natural selection. So far as is known, he was unaware of the work of Charles Darwin when he began his experiments, though he did obtain a copy of On the Origin of Species in his 3rd, 1863 edition. In this, he carefully marked the passages concerning variations and hybrids. For theological reasons, however, he never accepted Darwin's arguments on the mutability of species. Another important part here, his discovery of the basis of genetic inheritance was nevertheless of a magnitude to rank with that of natural selection. And the discovery attracted no attention whatsoever. That's in direct opposition to the mainstream media's proposition that if there's a major discovery made with the use of the internet, you can just put it on the internet and all of a sudden everybody's going to know about it, and everybody's going to accept it, and it's going to be heralded as a major discovery. That's not how it works. Not even in the internet age. I know this. I'm living it. If you have a major discovery made, and you tell people about it, not a word of it is going to pop up in mainstream press, in any type of universities. They're all going to keep quiet. Don't say anything, you know. It's not going to be heralded in there as a major discovery, simply because, well, it's not just people wouldn't have known about it. It's that they have a lot on the line, okay? You can't have a major discovery heralded in and given credit if people disagree with it. They're just going to ignore it. Took a full, 16 years after he died, when the text of his articles was stumbled upon virtually simultaneously by botanists working independently in Germany, Austria, and the Netherlands. So literally 30 years after he did his work, he was noticed well after he died. So really, he was completely unknown at the time. Even for many decades, he was unknown. To think about all the discoveries probably made right now that aren't given enough, credit or enough time in major media. They like to report about the new cosmology theories and the dark matter and the black holes and the Big Bang and the inflation, and that sort of takes people's mind away from the major discoveries that are made that are being completely ignored. And it should be a challenge for the listeners and for readers of science articles to kind of look for the major discoveries that are being ignored, things that aren't really talked about that much, because that's where the real magic happens. The real small things that might make big differences in the future. All right, y'all, take it easy.